Now we go into the sales session by Olaoluwa Egunjobi. He's the commercials director at General Electric. Thank you.
Where you just want to go buy a loaf of bread, or you want to pick up some small stuff, whatever it is. You approach the person and the transaction is very, very short. Most conversations go this way. You go to the store, Mama, do you have toilet roll? Yes, I do. How much is it? 55 bucks. Can I buy 2 for 100? Yes. And then that's it, concluded. That is transactional sales. A higher form of selling is selling by features, feature selling. Here, you know the feature of what you're trying to sell, and you are capitalizing on it to make more profit. So let's look at that same scenario again, but in a feature selling mindset. You approach the same woman, probably a bigger store this time, and you say, hey, ma'am, do you have toilet roll? Yes, I do. I have the ply toilet roll. I have the one that is soft, made in China. I have another one that is made in Aba. I have one that if you use it, you can keep using it for life, whatever that is. But just an example, that is feature selling. The salesperson on the other side recognizes the feature of what he's trying to sell to you or what she's trying to sell to you and has capitalized on it to catch your attention. That's a higher form of selling. Now, let's move on to a higher one again, a much higher one, value selling. Here, you know the product, you know the features, but you've gone a step further. You know the value that this product offers to your customer. Let's use the same. The woman knows the feature, or the man, the salesperson, and has told you about it. But now, the person is going to go a step further to tell you about some values that you wouldn't even expect that this has. So the conversation might go this way. Hey, I have toilet roll for you. I have ply. I have the softest version. It's made in Aba. It's the best in Nigeria. You can use it forever. But do you know that this is the best toilet roll ever that you can find? Do you know that if you tear this toilet roll in a bit, do you know that it self-repairs itself? Have you seen that before? No, you haven't. I guess I'm the only person that has it, and I'm selling it to you. It's priced a bit higher at a premium, but because of the value you're getting, you want to buy it. So that's value selling. Someone knows the exact value of what they are selling to you. They have capitalized on you. On it, and they have used it. The highest form of sales, which is where I want to sort of stay on throughout today, is consultative selling. That is the highest point you can get to. It's higher than transactional, higher than feature selling, higher than value selling. And that's where I want everybody to be. Consultative sellers they know the product, they know the features, they know the value, but they don't wait for the customer to come and buy. They become consultants to the customer. They seek the customers out. They look out for them wherever they are hiding, and they draw them out with all the features, the product, the value. They draw them out and become like an in-house consultant to them. Perfect example is this. The same toilet roll seller has now grown, become a big store in your area, very big store. Now knows how to sell in a consultative way. The salesperson at this point does not wait for you to come and buy the toilet roll. He knocks on your door and he says, hey, Mr. Oloyede, Mr. Olaoluwa, Mr. Abe Victor, I'm here with toilet roll. I know that you have a family of 6. I know that you guys probably go through a box every month. I'm here to offer you a product. I'm going to be dropping a box every month for you. Forget about coming to the store. Forget about the stress of driving down to pick grocery or toilet roll at my place. I will drive down. I would give it to you. You will pay me. And again, I'm not even going to take money at once. I'll give you the toilet roll. You use it. If you like it, you pay me. And then you don't even pay me in bulk. You pay me every week. So if you're meant to pay me $5,000 for this box of toilet rolls, I am going to take $1,000 every week from you for 5 weeks. And then I'm going to replenish it every week like that for the whole year. How is that for a deal? That, my friends, is consultative selling. And that's where I want everybody to be. That's where I want your mindset to be as I talk about sales today. In sales, I mean, if we segue from that into the different roles that you have in the sales organization, I've heard names like business development manager, I've heard names like account manager, technical sales manager, sales operations leader, commercial excellence leader. What else have I heard? I've heard some pretty modern names too, like customer success leader. That's a new one from 2020. I've heard a lot of that these days. And whatever you call the name, it doesn't really matter to me. At the basic fundamental level, the underlying concepts that we are going to talk about today are the same. They cut across all functions that are related to the sales profession, and they cut across all rungs of the ladder as you examine the sales professional career that are ubiquitous anyway across all organizations that you might ever have heard about. So we'll spend the next 15 minutes looking at a typical day in the life of a sales manager, in the life of a sales professional, 9 to 5. When they get to the office, what do they do exactly? 10 hours, 11 hours, some people work 14 hours. What do they spend those 14 hours doing? What kind of skills do they exhibit? And what kind of challenges do they overcome every day? A different approach here. A sales leader is an orchestra leader. A sales professional, rather, is an orchestra leader. If you know what an orchestra is, you would know that an orchestra has several moving parts. And it's analogous to most big organizations, in the world. Several organizations that I have worked in, you would see the finance function, you will see the HR function, sometimes engineering function, production, marketing, sales, we're talking about today, and many other functions that are required as the organizations get bigger and larger. That's like an orchestra. The sales professional, the salesman, the saleswoman, they spend a huge chunk of their day directing that orchestra. They wear different hats, coordinate, and get everybody lined up towards a single goal to sell what the company produces. Put yourself in the shoes of a sales, let's pick a fictitious company that makes clocks. You have just been hired as a sales professional, straight out of school, to sell wristwatches and clocks in the streets of Lagos. Behind that wristwatch, behind the single clock that you have in your pocket to sell, there is an engineering team that has designed it. There is a product team that understands how the engineering team has put it together in relation to the different competition of wristwatches that you have in the world. There is a finance team that understands all the costs that went into producing that wristwatch. There's an HR team that hires all these guys to come together to make the product. There is a CEO who is, of course, at the helms of affairs, looking forward to a tidy amount of profit at the end of the year. And there are other stakeholders too, board of directors, looking after their cash, their pot of cash, so that it doesn't dry up. All of them are looking at you, the salesperson, to deliver the numbers, to bring the numbers home, to make sure that the company continues surviving. You, sir and ma, you are the orchestra leader. And that is by no means an easy task. You have to be assertive, you have to be tenacious, you have to You have to have strong project management skills to understand how to handle everyone, all the stakeholders towards the same target without generating too much friction. That's a lot of work, trust me. The second set of skills that a sales manager or a sales professional demonstrates, every day at work is that they are always on the move. They are always running. Let me give you an example or an analogy to drive it home. If your organization is driving or is moving at 100 miles per hour, as a sales leader, you must move faster. You must move at 150 miles per hour. Why? You are in front, you are in touch with the customer. So it is your duty to understand, even before the company understands, it is your duty to understand what is going on outside. You have to run faster than your company. You have to see beyond the horizon that your CEO is seeing. You have to see around the corner and help the whole organization steer the ship in a safe way. Always on the move, always running, always in front, understanding the competition, understanding what is going on in the market, and driving everybody towards, that same leading edge that you want them to be at. One other skill set that a sales professional must, is living I call it the infinite learner. You have to be an infinite learner every day. Of what use? Let's go back to the guy that just got hired. Let's use, who do I use now? Abe Victor? Good. Abe Victor has just been hired as the sales leader to sell Chuka wristwatches in Lagos. There are other wristwatches in Lagos. There is Ola wristwatch, there is Kayode Samo wristwatch, there is Duard's wristwatch, there's Olaoluwa wristwatch. If Abe Victor does not know about all these other wristwatches, he cannot do his job effectively. He must know these wristwatches. He must be able to learn about the products that he sells and the products that are outside. So these are some of the huge chunk of hours that you find a sales professional dedicating his day towards every day. We mentioned the first one, which is being the orchestral leader. The second, which is being the guy that runs ahead every time. The third one now, which is the infinite learner. The last and the most important one, the relationship builder. Every day, the sales professional builds relationships, cold calls, seeks introductions, tries to meet new people, tries to break into new markets. There is no way that an organization will grow if you do not keep planting flags in new territories. And the sales professional is at the forefront of getting this done on behalf of the organization. So you have these 4 traits that the sales manager juggles his time to achieve or to build every single day, day in, day out, 9 to 5. These are the core skills that you see sales exhibits. Now, how do we distill this? How do we distill this skill sets into something more tangible, something more behavioral that you can hold and take home as your core learning for today? There are two behavioral traits that are considered underlying factors to build these skill sets that sales professionals use to fulfill their daily activities. First one is empathy, and then the second one is ego drive. I'll talk about both of them. And you can drop definitions that come to your head in the chat box as we go along. I want to pick your brains on what you think these words mean. Let's talk about empathy. How do you relate with that word? Empathy has to do a lot with a behavioral trait that allows you to feel what the other person is feeling, to listen and understand, have a tactile understanding of what someone is trying to communicate to you. And not only that, understand their point of view and use it to tweak your own mindset. How does this maybe still sound abstract? How do we take this abstract word that we've described? How do we bring it in? How do we double click on it and make sure that everybody understands how it fits into the profile of a sales professional? Now imagine that you've been given a car to sell. Someone sees Ayosamo, for instance, and he says, okay, I like this guy. It looks like a cool guy. I'm gonna give him the key to my Benz to see if he can sell it. Ayo is gonna prospect for candidates around where he lives, and let's say he finally settles on someone and they get talking about the Benz. The conversation goes thus: hey, Ayo, how much is this car? 12 million bucks. You have, when you say the word 12 million bucks to any person in Nigeria, you have to know how to look into the person's eyes and understand the kind of feedback that they're giving you. Can they afford it? Are they looking for a cheaper car? Do they think the amount you mentioned is outrageous? Are they in the same, social class of people that can really afford this car? Are they scared? Are they happy with the amount? It takes a lot of empathy to understand these things. And it's a behavioral trait that is not taught in schools, right? It's something that you have to develop yourself. And that's why we are honing on this skill a lot today. The next one, ego drive. All sales professionals pride themselves in the ability to close a deal. Like I mentioned when we started this session, there is a thrill. There is that ecstatic feeling that you get when you sell a product, when you sell a service, when you convince someone, when you win a debate. There is that feeling that you get. You've sold something and someone has taken something from you and they believe it's theirs now. That kind of feeling drives your ego. It makes you confident, makes you optimistic. All sales managers must have this trait: empathy and ego drive. There is actually, however, something that we must clarify. There's a balance that must be struck. A sales professional cannot afford to have 100% empathy. Neither can a sales professional afford to have 100% ego drive. There must be a balance, and the sales professional must operate within that balance to lead a very successful career. How do I mean? Imagine an overly empathetic person. And let's pick Ayosamo again, the car salesman. He tells his client that the Benz is 12 million bucks. And then he notices that his client is not happy with that price and would like to pay 7 million. If you are ruled only by empathy, you would tend to gravitate towards closing a deal that doesn't make sense for you, absolute sense to the customer. You have to understand how to strike that balance. On the other hand, if Ayosamo is someone that has 100% ego drive and zero empathy, if he sees that his client or his customer is not happy with the 12 million bucks price, he might just roll his eyes and move on and say, oh, please, I'll look for someone else. No. Take a minute, take a second, chill out. He cannot afford it does not mean you walk away. You talk about other things. You talk about what kind of car he likes. You talk about what he can afford. You think out of the box to find another solution for him. Okay, he says he wants to pay 7 million. Okay, you want to pay 7 million, no problem. I can't sell this Benz to you for 7 million bucks. I can sell it for 10 million, but I'll take your 7 million now and split the 3 million deficit over the next 4 months. That is a conversation starter. And then you keep moving on from there. So the idea is to have a balance, a concrete balance that, makes you not overly empathetic to the cost of someone that wants to buy something from you, and something that makes you not overly confident and optimistic that if you walk away from someone without even making a pitch, you will still sell. So those are the two qualities that underpin the skills that a sales professional, demonstrates every day, day in, day out in the office. So guys, we have about 20 minutes more. I want to listen to you. I want to hear your questions, give some answers to them as much as I can.
Thank you, Ola. Thank you very much for the awesome presentation. So, guys, if you have questions, please put them up in the chat room. Please raise your hand so that I could.
Oh yeah, I have a question here. It says, can someone combine other careers with sales? Absolutely, you can. So there are many examples of people like that have succeeded doing that. Let me start with breaking it down to where people usually start from. There are people that indeed start their career as salespeople. I know many firms, particularly FMCGs, that's fast-moving consumer good companies in Nigeria and globally that typically hire directly from school into the sales organization. They typically train you for a couple of months or years before they dump you in the field. But the idea is they make you understand in detail what you're going to be doing day to day before you get dumped at the end of the ocean. However, when you talk about combination of other careers with sales, it's typical. You see it everywhere. You see people that start as engineers in organizations. You see people that start as doctors, become business development managers in a couple of years, and go on from there to lead the sales organization. And when they do this, actually, you see a lot of difference and a lot of unique perspectives in the way they bring clarity to their everyday role. For instance, if you look at a firm like Novartis, the drug manufacturer, they love to hire pharmacists into sales roles, and that's because their products are pretty, unique and specific. You need to have a lot of background knowledge to sell such things. You need to understand the chemistry behind what they sell. So most of the best salesmen in that space actually come from a background of what they are selling. In other climes, in other companies, they are pretty agnostic about what you studied or what skill set you have before joining the organization. And that's because sales is underpinned not only by product knowledge, but by these two skills and these attributes that we've spoken about: ego, drive, empathy. So I have a question from...
The next question is from Abdurrahman Badmos. Says, how do we deal with sales objection? E.g., I will get back to you later.
Excellent. So that's where I'm happy you're asking these questions. Very exciting. That's where the ego drive comes in. You must have enough ego to be optimistic at every point of a sales process. A no is an opportunity to learn. I mean, there are people that seek out no's so that they become infinite learners in this space. When you hear a no, ask why. Okay, why are you not listening to me? What can I do to make you listen to me? I mean, these are questions that you ask yourself from the feedback mechanism that we spoke about. So your empathy and your ego drive comes into play immediately you hear a no. It becomes an opportunity to learn and understand what you could do better, approaching the next person. Some no's are permanent. Fine, you move on. But as a sales guy, before a no becomes permanent, make sure you've tried your best. Next question.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that beautiful response. Next question is from Olaoluwa Egunjobi. Good day, sir. How can someone pull the audience to patronize a particular business in order to make sales in products whereby there are a lot of competitors? So basically, the person is asking how you can, outsell your competitors.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. How can someone do what?
Yeah, outsell your competitors.
Okay, so interesting question. So nobody sits down and waits to be outsold, right? It's a war out there, especially when you're in a very tight and competitive market that is dominated by sharks. Big example is the fast-moving consumer goods market, where all of them actually sell almost the same thing, and their product becomes almost commoditized. How do you differentiate in that space? You have to think outside of the box. You have to move closer to your customers. Now, selling now becomes less of the product. It becomes more of the value that you are willing to offer. For instance, you sell product A and B are similar, right? But you sell product A. Are you willing to offer more credit, more seller credit to your consumers? Are you willing to do that? So there are things that you can use as precursors to sell your product, not necessarily the product anymore, especially in a commoditized environment, and move beyond that. Think outside the box to create avenues of sale for yourself. If you are in a market that is not that competitive, for instance, where the market is dominated by maybe two giants, and then it becomes even more difficult. You have to think even farther down the line. You have to see around the curve. What can I do that my competitor is not doing? What can I offer that will blow the mind of my customer? How do I position myself? How do I innovate? We have the same product today. How do I innovate? How do I make sure that my product is better tomorrow? And how do I make sure my customer knows that it's going to get better value tomorrow and then stick to me out of brand loyalty? So those are the ways that you should think about it. Thanks. Next question.
Awesome. So Patty says, thank you very much for the presentation, Ola. I totally agree that everybody in an organization looks up to the salesperson to deliver. I would like to know what core course should an aspiring salesperson study in the university. So this person is asking for, a course of study in the university, or probably like a professional course or something.
Oh, thanks, Patty, for that question. Really insightful. So most sales professions are course agnostic. You don't really need to focus on a particular course. An awesome or an excellent sales professional, and that is the beauty of sales. That's why I announced. That's why I declared, rather, when we started, without any shame, without any risk of getting challenged by anybody, that this is the most exciting path that you can dream of. So you don't need to focus on any course. There are courses that help. Of course, I'll be honest about that. You have courses like sociology that really help people understand human behavior, which makes you understand everything I've spoken about today: empathy and ego drive. But not necessarily that you have to go study those courses to become a salesperson or a sales professional. You have to build yourself up from the scratch, understand the sales process, understand the company that you're trying to join, and then, go for it.
Thank you very much, Ola. And Oluwapo Ademuyiwa says, "Hi Ola, thanks a billion for this insightful and practical section. I was just thinking, what's your take about selling something you are passionate about as against selling anything because you know how to?"
I know, Olaoluwa, thanks for that question. So we were talking about the thin line between having passion for something and a thin line between just knowing how to do something, right? The dichotomy has existed for years: talent versus survival. To me, it's. I mean, I'll give you. I'll not give you a textbook answer. I'll give you an answer that is dear to my heart. A man has got to do what a man has got to do to survive in some cases. And in some cases also, a man has to be, when I say man, I mean a man and a woman, of course. You have to be brave enough to face your fears, embrace your passion, and turn it into your lifestyle. But whichever way you go, whichever direction that you choose to go, the fundamentals still remain the same. You have to build the skills to sell. Whether you have passion for it or not would not matter if you are bringing in the dollars for the company that has charged you to sell these things. However, it is my firm advice for you to actually develop passion for whatever that you want to do in life. It helps. It reduces the risk of getting depressed, which is very real. We are in uncertain times, and so many of you would understand what I'm talking about. Having to cage yourself at home to survive this pandemic situation has been hard on many people. So life is short. Be passionate about what you want to do and excel in it. Next question, please.
The next question is, what if after taking a discount of the price money for a particular product and the customer still says he can't afford it? What other approach can be applied in such situation, or do you just give up and move on to the next customer?
So guys, before you apply a discount, think twice about it. So I wouldn't call it, let's call it a spade. I'll call a spade right now. If you default to putting a discount on the table as your first approach to make a sales, it's the laziest approach that you can follow as a sales professional. You have to think much deeper than that. You have to understand where your client is coming from. You have to understand the values that that matter to them, and you have to know the levers, the key levers that you can push and pull. When you have pushed all these levers, then you come to discount. How do I mean? You want to sell a house off plan to someone, Abuja, right beside one of the best looking lakes. The guy offers you 65 million. You have to understand where that 65 million is coming from. Why is he offering you 65 million? Is it his budget? Or does he think that the house is not worth 100 million? Or does he not know the features that the house has? Does he know about that lake? Does he know that when he sleeps on his bed at night, he can hear the gentle chime of the river and birds tweeting? Does he know that? You have to first sell. And when you sell, when you bring him to a middle point, when he understands that, oh dear, this house is worth more than 65 million, but I don't have 100 million, then get to a midpoint. That's how it works. Don't ever offer discount as the first line of approach. Get to a midpoint first, offer your discount, and then have at the back of your mind, what is your walk-away price? What is it that I have to walk away from today? Is it 79 million? Is it 80 million? Have it at the back of your pocket and stay true to it.
Thank you very much, Ola. Next question is from Ayomide Rachel Taylor. Hi, thanks a lot, Ola. This is very eye-opening. Now, for many of us who have extremely no background in business or sales, for instance, a political scientist leaving school, what is the first step to take in becoming a sales professional?
The first step to take is learn about yourself. Know thyself. When you know yourself, you understand two things: your weaknesses and your strengths. What strengths do you have right now that you can leverage and become a salesperson? What strengths do you have? Do you have empathy? Are you empathetic? Are you an ego-driven person? Are you self-confident? Are you assertive? Can you enter a room and wow people? If you know you have such strengths, build on them. They help. What weaknesses do you have? Are you extremely shy? Do you need to overcome some timidity issues? Can you join Toastmasters? Can you join ISEC? Can you join all the other good organizations that help, align your behavioral traits with the skills and the attributes that we've spoken about today? You have to look for such avenues to bring yourself to that level where you are comfortable making a sales pitch. Can you walk up to a person and make a cold pitch? Someone you've never met before. If I give you the phone number of my uncle today, can you call him or her, or him rather, my uncle? Can you call him and sell yourself in 5 minutes? Who you are, what you do, what you want to do in the future, and the help needed from him? Can you do that? Those are the kind of things that you should practice with today. Practice with them. Get yourself grounded in these behavioral traits that we've spoken about that sales professionals exhibit, and you see yourself change in a couple of months. Next question.
Thank you, Ola. The next question is from Shion in Lorenda. In what ways has the typical life of a sales professional been altered by COVID-19 pandemic, and what's the new reality for sales professionals?
That's an awesome question. So, nobody expected this to happen globally. So it's been a punch on people's faces, and you know what Mike Tyson said about that. You have a plan until you get punched in the face. So all the plans have been shattered. Sales are down for most organizations. Most organizations are having to reinvent themselves. You can see big names in Lagos like Eco Hotel now selling takeaway food, trying to keep the lights on. So you see all sorts of things happening. How does it affect the salesman? You are still at the forefront of these activities. You got punched in the face, fine, but you have to pick yourself up to understand the new realities, which means social distancing, no flights, no driving down to see the customer, leveraging more tech, leveraging more video calls like we're doing now, and less of physical contact. So this has really changed the way business is done in ways that are teachable moments for most sales professionals. For instance, a salesman, a saleswoman is probably used to waking up in the morning and flying down to wherever the customer is to make that sales pitch, stay close to the customer and close deals. Now, everything has to be done virtually on phone. You have to step outside of that comfort zone that you've had for years. You have to stay in a shell while you make that sale. So we've had to we've had to reorientate ourselves in many different ways. But the good thing is that it's been a learning moment for most organizations globally. And the optimism is gradually climbing back to pre-COVID levels, if not more.
Thank you for that brilliant answer, Ola. The next question is from Olaoluwa Samuel. It says, does a salesperson always have to rebrand regularly, take into consideration a particular trend or change in trend in the market, or would one have to try first?
Okay, interesting question. It's a trite statement, but I'll say it anyway. the only constant thing in life is change, right? So you have to keep looking for that avenue to become better. You have to keep looking for that avenue to innovate. Growing up, I won't tell you how old I am, but I'm old enough to remember that Coca-Cola bottles used to look like Maltina bottles, that small and that thick, right? Many of you might not know, but I'll share pictures if you want. There was a time, believe it or not, when that was the sexy shape that a bottle should have. But nowadays, what do we have? We have canned Coke. We even have pubs that distill Coke from, from these big giant bottles that, you don't see in personal spaces. So, and that's Coke we are talking about. They spend millions of dollars every year trying to find ways to become better. A whole Coca-Cola. So, Ayo, all sales professionals have to reinvent themselves as often as they can, every day, always moving. Remember, we said that? As a sales professional, if your organization is moving at 100 miles per hour, you have to be in front moving at 150 miles per hour so that you can help them and see the horizon that they can't see yet. So I hope that answers.
Thank you, Ola. Next question is from Okpeyemi. The next question is from, okay, it's more of a compliment actually, from Titi Lokbe Adelaja. She says, thank you so much for this section, Ola. I've not only learned from the class, but also from your response to the questions. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
So, guys, if you have other questions that you want to ask Ola, please drop it in the chat box, and let's Ola attend to your question. There's one here. This is from T-Phrase. Thanks for the presentation. You said there is a need to strike balance with the client. How do you deal with clients that after you splitted the payment space, they paid and abscond from paying the balance? This person must have had a bad experience with customers.
I love that. So I love it. It's getting practical. So enough of all the theoretical stuff. This is real life. You pitch $5 million for your Toyota Corolla. The person drives it away from your garage, gives you 2.5 million and promises to pay 2.5 million later. And then what? You treat the person like a friend, like your family, and then he goes, no, it doesn't work that way. So most times as a salesperson, remember I told you that you lead the orchestra, right? That was where we started from. Every day you lead the orchestra. Part of the orchestra in your organization will probably be the people called the finance team. Before you do such a thing, you have to speak with them. You have to understand. Or if you are a sole proprietor, if you are the sole owner of your business, you have to wear that finance hat at that time and think, what happens if this guy absconds? Do I have enough collateral that is worth the promise that he wants to pay me in 6 months? Can I go to his house and pack his television, his laptop, and can I even repossess the car and sell as scrap and get some of my money back? Or in a very neat way, can I get a post-dated check from this guy if he's so confident that he's going to pay me my money in December, if he's so confident that he's going to get that cash flow in January? Can I get a post-dated check for January 15? It's a crime in Nigeria if your check bounces, you know that. So that is enough security. You have to get something called a payment security to secure any balance that is due to you. So direct that orchestra in a way that protects you every time before you make that sale. That's the short answer to the question.
Thank you. We have a question from Fatima Adetunji. She says, another question, please, is it possible to work remotely as a sales professional?
I'm currently doing that. Praise the Lord. So, COVID has changed a lot of things. We no longer fly down or drive down to the customer side and shake hands with them and close that deal. We reinvent ourselves in new ways every day. I mean, we don't take this lightly at all. It's a situation that we hope that everybody overcomes. But as it is now, the new reality is that we all have home offices where we sit in and try to make the best of it. I'll tell you what my typical day looks like these days. I wake up in the morning, I look at my team, I look at the dashboard of what needs to be done, what deals need to be closed. I check up on each of them, and then we strategize on the kind of messaging we want to go with to the customer, what kind of meetings, what kind of people do we want to pull in into the meetings with the customer. We schedule the meeting just like we're having a meeting now. The lawyers are present from both sides, technical guys are present from both sides, and we all come to the table to discuss. So life goes on, really. Life has been going on, and it will continue to go on despite the pandemic. I understand that for some organizations, I might be lucky to be able to sell remotely. For some organizations, it's not been possible. For instance, hair salon, a barber, for instance, it's going to be very hard for a barber to continue, selling his services right now, except he is able to prove that, he doesn't have, COVID-19, or his client too does not have it, and then he can wear some hazmat and stuff. It's getting complicated. That's just the messaging here. Things are complex for a couple of industries. Some industries have thrived. For instance, Facebook, Twitter, social media, they've recorded an inordinate increase in revenue for this past couple of months because people are now going Zoom. We are using Zoom right now. Go and check the share price for Zoom. Go and check how much revenue they've made in this past month. It's huge. So for some, they have won. For some, they have lost. Airlines, for instance, there is nothing you can do about it. Airlines have lost. And I can only pray for the sales professionals in that industry right now that things speak up. So we don't take this lightly at all. We understand where that question is coming from. I make no light, jokes about what anybody might be going through trying to sell legitimately and yet have no means to do it. Sometimes it's impossible, hard life. At this point, you just have to get yourself together and hope that things really become better, or better still, pivot into something else that can sustain you while you wait for this pandemic to pass.
Thank you very much for the wise words, Ola. A question from Okpeyemi Ajayi. Does our environment determine the growth of our brand?
Does our environment determine the growth of the brand?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Your environment matters. That's a fact. The market size differs globally. In the United States, if I have if I have an offer, let's go back to the wristwatch. If I have an offer to sell a wristwatch for 500,000 naira, which is about $1,200 in the wristwatch in dollars, I can probably sell 1 million units if I put my back into it and I have a good brand behind me, because the market is big enough to absorb that. There are enough rich people in the United States to pay for that kind of product. But in Nigeria, save for the big cities, Lagos, Ibadan, Port Harcourt, Abuja, Kano, Kaduna, maybe if you're lucky, maybe you sell 200 units in a single year. And that is due to no fault of yours. It's just what the market is, right? It's what the environment has dished out to you, and you have to understand it. You have to understand your market. It's part of the infinite learning process that we spoke about. The sales manager, the sales professional would have to understand the environment to really determine their go-to-market strategies and sort of develop their sales pitches before they start making projections. I hope that answers well.
Thank you, Ola. The next question is from A. Oladipo. What has been your biggest mistake in dealing with customers, and what did you learn, and what would you do differently? That's a more personal question to you.
Yeah. Let's keep that coming. I like it. So, biggest mistake was, way earlier in my career. Thinking that being too proud, right? Thinking that you are the best thing since sliced bread, and the product that you sell is a super product, and everybody wants it, and there's nothing they can do about it, right? That was a mistake I made, growing my career way back then. Not having enough empathy to sort of reach into the mind of the customer. If you don't have enough empathy, you trample over customers just because you know that you can sell. So I'll give you an example. You sell, I mean, when the COVID-19 situation broke out in Nigeria, supermarkets started selling face masks, right? And after a while, some supermarkets ran out of face masks. The few that had face masks started acting like gods, right? So I fell into that sort of mistake a while back, many years ago, maybe 9 or 10 years back, having a product that everybody wants and forgetting that the market can actually catch up one day with you, where other competitors can offer the same thing. And then you go cap in hand to the people that you've rubbished, the people that begged you for 7 million when you were offering 10 million. You go back cap in hand begging for 4.5 million. Meanwhile, they've switched brands just because of the way you treated them. So these are mistakes that, not that I regret. They were teachable moments. They were moments that I learned from, and made me a better person, made me into an integral part of the person I am today. So I look back, I smile, and I appreciate those times. Huh?
Thank you very much. One last question. So there's this popular saying that you need to sell up to 7 times before you can actually make a real sale, before your customer can buy for you. Is it a myth, or is that actually true based on your experience?
Multiply that 7 by 1,000. That's the real answer.
Wow. Wow. So as a salesperson, you need to keep going at it.
Yes, you need to have tenacity and resilience. Most times, sales professionals believe that their product will sell. You sit in that garage in your house, you start building something, and I'll give you an example that happened to me when I was in the university. We had this idea in my 100 level, part 1, to sell a wooden plank that people could place on a desk and use it as a book reader. So we wanted people to stop placing books on their laps to read when they lie down on the bed. We wanted like a stand that they could place on the bed and then put the book and just flip through, lazily. We thought it was a product that would sell because we liked it. We wanted it. So we thought everybody would want it. And we made about 400 wooden planks, thinking that we had hammered. So we went all about the school trying to sell this wooden plank. For 2 weeks, we sold like 5 to our best friends who pitied us and bought from us. The product never took off. We tried, we kept trying, and we kept trying. It never took off. So the life of a sales professional is as hard as the life of a doctor, the life of a technician, the life of an engineer. It is not a shortcut to anything at all. you meet the same challenges you meet in other professions, if not more, as a sales professional. Sometimes you get it right, sometimes you miss it, sometimes you are in the middle. So you have to be prepared to take no several times before you hear that single yes.
Wow. So one last question, actually two last questions. The first one is so there's a very amazing person that wants to relocate to Canada, but he has a sales opportunity here in Nigeria. Should the person take the sales opportunity here in Nigeria or relocate to Canada? And the second question is what's inside your cup? I mean, you keep drinking from that cup. We are very curious.
So I'll answer the second question first. If I tell you, I'll have to snap my finger like Thanos and kill half of you here, right? So I can't tell you what's inside this cup, but but for the people curious, it's coffee. It's my afternoon coffee, just to get a shot and push me through the day. Now, for the guy that is trying to go to Canada or take a sales role in Nigeria, I mean, it's a personal decision, right? I know there's a lot of people that have made that decision to either go to UK. I've seen troops of doctors go to the UK to start new lives in the past couple of years. I've seen a lot of people, mainly IT guys, to go to Canada and succeed. In Nigeria also, truth be told, despite being the poverty capital of the world, we have seen a lot of people excel in their careers, grow, and become the person or the people that they always dreamed that they would be. So it's a personal decision. What you have to think about it. What is that thing that is attracting me in Canada? Is it the job I'm going to get there? Is it the quality of life that is better that I want to go experience? Do I like the cold? Do I like snow? So it's personal. Think deep about it and establish the reasons why you want to move. Establish the reasons that could make you stay, and then weigh them. Whichever one is heavier, take that decision. But don't prevaricate. Think about it, take the decision, move fast. So I'll stop drinking from that cup.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to. You can continue. We want you to be your best all through the day, so please continue.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the awesome section. Thank you everybody for joining. Please, before we move on, there's a link to the general section in the chat box. So please click on the link and join for the closing session, as well as for other information as regards tomorrow's section. Thank you very much. Olaoluwa, back to you. So any closing remark for everybody? What would you advise? What would you advise against? What would you tell us to do differently moving on from this point? And your prayers.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, since I've participated in all the sessions today, I mean, it started brilliantly with Dr. Dipo Awojide talking about managing your personal space, something like that, and then good move to Olaoluwa Egunjobi Diamond, who was talking about soft skills and the mindset, and then a perfect segue to start talking about career moves, how to build a career in sales. And if there's one thing I want you to take away from here, is that life journeys are individual, right? You can't model the journey of your life against another person's. It's very specific, it's unique, it's bespoke to you, and you have to take deliberate steps every day towards your goal, towards your target. So we spoke about what it takes to become a brilliant salesperson. We talked about the 9 to 5, what happens, from leading the orchestra to running faster than your organization, to becoming an infinite learner, to, building knowledge, building contacts and having relationships, So distilling those qualities into two main ones that you have to watch out for: having empathy and having ego drive, and then balancing both. These are things that sound commonsensical, right? It's something that, oh, okay, I knew this all the time, but this session is just to bring everything together in a structured manner for you to actually understand how the puzzle fits together, right? So take these things, run with them, create bespoke and personal plans for yourself, and keep yourself accountable. Find a mentor, become accountable to that mentor and yourself, and watch yourself, fly in the next couple of years. So thanks, everyone. I appreciate the participation. Hope you enjoyed the other sessions as much as you've enjoyed this. And please learn as much as you can.
Thank you very much, Olaoluwa. Thank you very much for the beautiful section. It's been an amazing session, eye-opening and enlightening. And thanks for the attendees for also joining this session. We appreciate your presence. Based on everything Ola said, I think the next best thing for you to do right now is to start executing, right? You've heard a lot of things today, so it will all be useless if you do not put all of these things to use. So start executing, and as sales professionals, start selling, right? And for the young brother that wants to travel to Canada, please do not forget me in Nigeria when you get there. Thank you, everyone. Please don't forget to join the general section. See you. Bye, Ola.
Bye. Thank you.